Hi everybody and welcome back to Relax My Dog. Today we have a super interesting video all about how to take care of your dog properly throughout winter and what different tips you can take into account when caring for your dog. We actually have 5 different top tips that you guys should definitely be doing throughout the winter months. So yeah, let's get started. Now before we do begin, definitely do go down below to the comments and let me know, what is winter like in your country? For example, in the UK we sometimes get snow, but most of the time it's just a little tiny bit, and then the majority of the time it's just icy because it rains still all of the time throughout winter. So we don't really have the best of winters, but do let me know down below in the comments, do you get loads of snow? Do you get hardly any? Is it sunny during winter where you live? Let me know down below in the comments. But for now, we're just going to get started. So the first winter care tip to take into account is temperature. Obviously most dogs, for example Milo and a lot of other breeds, do have a thick layer of fur to keep them warm during the winter months. However, you've got to make sure that if your dog doesn't have a thick layer of fur, that they do have a coat on them to make sure they are kept nice and toasty and warm. Obviously sometimes people use coats as a fashion statement, etc., but a lot of the time it might just be because their dogs get really cold. I know that some dogs like Chihuahuas can get freezing cold and you can actually see them shake a little bit, so they definitely do need a coat if it is super cold. And that's why you've got to remember that your dog's coat doesn't cover their ears, and I'm sure they don't want to be walking around with a massive hat on their heads. So you've got to make sure that your dog isn't being kept outside for long periods of time, because obviously their ears are going to get still really cold, and as well as their nose as well. Now our second top tip is to make sure your dog has some cozy bedding. Now if you do live somewhere that is really cold and you have tiled floors, it can mean that your floors get extremely cold, and obviously you don't want your dog to be sleeping on such a cold floor, so it might be important to get them some cozy bedding to sleep on. Now this doesn't mean you have to go out and get them the thickest bed possible. If you have a few blankets lying around, just lay them up and let your dog sleep on that, and that'll be the perfect way to create a little bit of a cozy bed for your dog. As well, if you want to be extra cautious, you could also get them some heat pads as well, which I'm sure your dog will be very thankful for. Now our top tip number 3 is to moisturise. As well as for a human to moisturise during winter, it's also important for your dog to make sure their skin is nice and moisturised too. Now what I didn't know is that cold weather can cause flaky, dry skin on your dog, which can sometimes be quite painful for your dog, so it's important to help them stay moisturised. Obviously if you've ever had dry skin yourself, sometimes it can be very itchy, sometimes it can be very sore, so obviously it's the same for your dog as well. So I don't mean getting your moisturiser and rubbing it all over your dog, because most of the time it is the perfect way just to put a food supplement in your dog's dinner. For example, a little bit of coconut oil works perfectly to help your dog's skin stay nice and moisturised. Definitely do your research on some coat supplements that you can put in your dog's food to help them keep nice and moisturised, but I do know that coconut works quite well. Now number 4 is all about your dog's paws. Now if your dog has quite big paws and they have fur that comes through between their pads, this can actually mean that ice can get stuck on that fur, and it can actually be extremely painful for your dog. So it's important that you keep the fur in between your dog's pads nice and trimmed and cut to make sure that no ice can get stuck in there. And you've also got to remember that salt might be spread on the sidewalks and the pavements, and obviously if you think about it, the Salt and Ice Challenge was quite a big challenge here on YouTube and all over social media quite a few years ago, but that is a mixture of salt and water, and much like it is when you have ice and somebody spreads salt on it, if your dog's pads gets clung onto that or a bit gets stuck in their fur, obviously it can be very painful, as it can be for humans as well. Now number 5 is quite an interesting one, and this is to make sure that you're keeping the snow in your back garden, if you do get snow in your back garden, nice and one levelled. Now what I mean by this is if you have quite a lot of snow in your country and it builds and builds and builds up, if your dog can almost get over your fence already, if you have quite a big dog, then if there is this build up, that your fence is effectively just getting shorter and shorter, which means that they can easily jump over the fence. So make sure you're keeping sort of the bits around your fence or around your gates nice and small, and making sure that you're basically just keeping it all at one level so your dog can't jump over anywhere or escape in any way. But that is it for this week's video. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to enter our gorgeous little t-shirt giveaway. They just look like this. All you need to do to win your very own t-shirt is pop over to Instagram, post a picture of your dog and tag us at Relax My Dog, and you're therefore entered. It really is that simple. Also, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Don't forget to comment down below letting me know what winter is like in your country, and also don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already and you would like to. Don't forget as well to click our little notification bell to stay up to date with all of our videos. It's just next door to the subscribe button down below. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and me and Miley here will see you next week for next week's video. Bye!